unless we find something eternal, there will always be a discomfort, a disjoyment in your life. So let us not be deceived into thinking that temporal is eternal, because it's not. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of us would be passionate in being like Christ, instead of being passionate about golf or about a teen idol or a superstar? What would it be great for us to be just passionate for God? In our life right now, I think one of the questions that we need to ask is, where do you want to go? Where do you really want to go in life? If you search your heart, if you search your mind, what is really your dreams? Where's your life headed really right now? Right? But by your aspirations, by your actions, by your plans, we have to fight the urge to live for the temporal. But we are to press on. Don't stop. Sabi nga, fix your eyes on Him. Press on towards the goal for the prize of an upward call of God. During that time, these athletes, they would run, right? They would run the race. They would try to give everything. Imagine si Michael Phelps, what? Ilang Olympics na ba? 3? 5? Ilang years pa between Olympics? 4 years? 4. Kung 5, 20 years. I don't know. Imagine he dedicated all his life for that. During that time, I press on for the goal, for the prize of an upward call. During that time kasi, if you win the Olympics, you go up. You really go up to the emperor. That was the upward call of the emperor. And the emperor will give you the prize. And the whole empire will see. And you will, it's like getting an honor from the president. But mas grabe dati yung emperor eh. Then in some of the races, the emperor will be there. And people will be inspired because why? The emperor is watching. And they know that if the emperor that they revered as God, the one who controls everything, is down there watching, and everybody gusto magpasikat sa emperor. And after the race, one guy will be called up. Upward call. On top. To meet the emperor, and the emperor will give him the reward. That was their goal. But in our case, it was an upward call of God. What a big difference. It's God who will reward us. So we have to be resolved. We have to be convicted that this is a cause worth dying for. This is a cause worth pressing forward. It's not a good deeds. Me and my son, we had a long discussion, super long discussion, on some of his plans. Sana, I hope you don't mind me sharing some of that that you have. He has this plan of, what's your plan again? I said, anak, that's waste. To build a house here, to build a house there, right? And no, you want to, you want to help the sustainable development, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, my son came from a camp. He's not everything sustainable development, that term of the light, sustainable development. And he wants to be part of this movement of the sustainable development. So don't waste your life there. Right? It's nothing. I mean, devote to something that will last for all eternity. Something that is worth the while. You know, Jonathan Edwards, by God's grace and mercy, he got it right at a very young age. He wrote his resolve, right? I think he had 100 resolves. And next slide, please. These are some of the things that he resolved when he was 19. He had 20. He had 100. And I'll read some of them. Sabi niya, resolve that I will do whatever I think to be most to the glory of God and my own good, profit, and pleasure. To do whatever I think to be my duty for the good and advantage of mankind in general. His resolution number 4, resolve never to do any manner of thing, whether in the soul or body, less or more, but what tends to the glory of God. Resolve never to lose one moment of time, but improve on it in the most profitable way I possibly can. Resolve to live with all my might while I do live. Resolve never to do anything which I should be afraid to do if it were the last hour of my life. Resolve to study the scriptures so steadily, constantly, and frequently, as that I may find and plainly perceive myself to grow in the knowledge of the same. Resolve never, henceforward till I die, to act as if I were in any way my own, but entirely and altogether God's. Resolve never to allow the last measure of my fretting or uneasiness at my father or mother. Resolve that there be something of benevolence in all I speak. Edward resolved to read this resolution once a week. He was clear. He was resolved. Go back to the verse. He was resolved to press on. Go to Colossians chapter 2, please. Colossians chapter 2, verse 18 says, let no one keep defrauding you of your prize. Imagine that. Let no one keep defrauding you of your prize by delighting in self-abasement and the worship of the angels. Let no one rob you of the prize. The future prize you have. Do you want to win the race set before you by God? Everybody goes somewhere in their life. Where will you be when you get there? Everybody goes somewhere in their life. Where will you be when you get there? At the end of your life, what have you achieved? What is there to show for? Verse 15. Let us, therefore, as many as perfect, have this attitude. And if in anything you have a different attitude, God will reveal that also to you. What Paul is saying here is, if you want to fight a good fight, then you must press on. The word perfect there means mature. Let us therefore, as many of you are mature, have this attitude of not looking back, of pressing forward. Have that attitude of perseverance. We are to focus on Christ alone. The mature believers will always realize that they are not fully matured. Mature believers will realize that they are not fully mature, that they need to still grow. And Paul is saying, if in anything you have a different attitude, if you don't have that at the moment, because you are a child of God, God will reveal that also to you. Eventually, God will speak to you. Because God will never leave His children alone. He who began a good work in you, He will be faithful to continue it. Verse 16. However, let us keep living by the same standard to which we have attained. Basically, what Paul is saying here is, let us continue in the faith. Don't give up. Let us continue in the faith. I have several questions before we end. Where are you in your spiritual journey? Are you going in the right direction? Are you becoming more Christ-like? Is the reason for your salvation being fulfilled in your life right now? Are you about to give up? The Bible tells us, press on. All will be worth it in the end. The early Christians, you know what? They have one famous saying, the early Christians. One motto. I do one thing. That was a motto of early Christians. I do one thing. That was the thing that they tried. They were so focused. Last two verses. Go to 2 Timothy, please. In the dying moments of Paul, he writes this. 2 Timothy chapter 4. Second Timothy chapter 4, verse 6 to 8 says, For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come. Wow. Paul knew he was about to die soon. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the course. I have kept the faith. In the future, there is laid up for me the crowns of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have loved His appeal. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the course. I have kept the faith. Matthew 25 verse 23 says, His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. That is my desire for all of us. That we may press on. That at the end of our life, we will be able to say, I have fought the fight. I have finished the course, and I have kept the faith. Despite much difficulty, despite much pain, despite much suffering, I have fought the good fight. For some of us, we refuse not to fight. We don't want the hurt. We don't want the pain. We don't want the loneliness. We don't want the sufferings. Therefore, what? They have left the faith. But my desire for us is that we might not lose focus on the purpose of our salvation, which is to be Christ-like and to give glory to Him, so that the moment we lose our breath, the very next second of our consciousness, we will hear God say to us, enter into the joy of your master. Thus says the Lord.